In regard to Newfoundland. Steve Neary, sometimes says some funny things, and sometimes he says some wise things. Sometimes you can't tell the difference, but this... And I must say this is the first conference I've been at that he wasn't at, so something's gone wrong somewhere. However, Steve said last year after coming to visit Burin in the dark of night, which he found himself there about 12 o'clock at night on the protest line, like Nicodemus visiting Jesus, and the following day he announced that the revolution had begun. And I'm glad to say, and hopefully history will record, that Steve Neary announced the revolution in Newfoundland. And indeed, that's what I think did begin in Burin last year, when people, in fact, decided that they were not going to be victimized by an ongoing economic reality that was unacceptable in their lives, in which they were pawns or victims. That was the most unusual, traumatic, difficult reality for all the people of Burin. They're still suffering from it as though they had endured the difficulties of war. But nonetheless, they did announce in their actions a certain sense of revolution. A sense of revolution that would not allow outside forces or market forces or alternate technologies or the economics of scale or whatever to dictate the value levels of their lives. And while they didn't quite, and still don't, I think, or any of us that were involved, quite understand at what level we fought the Battle of Burin in the Battle of the Fishery, nonetheless we all there feel somewhat like the pilots of the Battle of Britain, victory over Germany. We're still licking our wounds, but awfully glad to have won the day. We're still left with terrible problems there, but at least the people have a sense as a community and individuals that they did struggle, first of all, to maintain what they believed to be theirs, which was the right to work, and the right to work in certain circumstances. They have a certain pride in that, and I'm quite certain that by their struggles and by their various political actions that they have secured their future. And I think that has to be the keynote for everybody. One of the things that comes over in this conference is, and it comes over in Newfoundland when I listen to people, is a constant harping about politicians or about others. You've got to learn that the only important person in the world is yourself. The only resourceful person at the end of the day is yourself. And as others have suggested, yourself coming together with other individuals is what turns out to be creative and dynamic. And there's no institution, there's no political institution, there's no financial institution can resist the dynamic of people bound together for their own common good to secure their own future. And I think that has to be the key for coming out of this conference, of people determined within their community councils, determined within all the various different orders and organizations we have to secure our well-being, that people do work together from their own resource base, not looking out all the time to see what the Minister of External Affairs is doing or what Jim Morgan is doing. Forget about that. They've got their problems, their job to do, certain limited funds, all kinds of excuses if they want to make them. It's what you do that counts, and together what you do that counts. And I think it's very important to think that way, not to think what others are doing to try to checkmate them, but to let them worry about what you're doing rather than you worry about what they're doing. And I would say in a way that in terms of this conference, that if we go off with those ideas, there will be a revolution. It will be a quiet revolution, but we'll have cut the umbilical cords, and we have too many of those in Newfoundland. Too many umbilical cords upon which we depend on others for our oxygen. We don't depend on anybody for oxygen except our own ability to breathe.